Lauren?
Fred, we're taking a look at how costs have changed for items in your budget over the past year. And I'm asking the Treasury Secretary whether stimulus checks are in the works in Washington. In front of signs that say lower prices and bigger paychecks, President Trump back in Pennsylvania, blaming Democrats for economic woes.
They gave you high prices. They gave you the highest inflation in history, and we're bringing those prices down rapidly.
The president touting his administration's policies, but with a way to go to convince Americans. An NBC News poll this fall showing 66% saying the administration has fallen short of expectations in handling inflation and the cost of living. In Mount Pocono, I asked the Treasury Secretary about the possibility of help for consumers.
One of the other things that we have heard talk about potentially for consumers is some sort of stimulus check, potentially like a $2,000 check, maybe even coming from tariff funds. Is that in the works for 2026?
Well, look, we have the tariff case before the Supreme Court, and the American people will be the big loser if the SCOTUS rules against the administration for two reasons. One, that we actually shrank the deficit this year, so the deficit contracted. But we're going to have to wait and see what the Supreme Court does. The other thing with this...
So it would depend on, so any kind of stimulus checks would depend on the outcome of that Supreme Court case?
Well, it's going to depend on that, and also it hurts our national security because President Trump has effectively used tariffs to negotiate.
So what have prices done over the past year? Well, let's dig into the numbers. This is the government website for the Consumer Price Index. These are prices over the past year and through September. Now, when you group things together, you can see that prices are up about 3%. And then we can get more specific into things you buy. Food up a little more than 3%. And now let's dig into things in terms of what you buy at the grocery store. You can see that this category is one of the biggest ones here. This is up about 5%, and it includes meats, fish, poultry, and eggs, which we have heard a lot about. And now there are smaller increases for things like cereals, fruits and vegetables, and dairy. A place where consumers are seeing some savings: gas prices. Gas prices have been coming down, not just in the past year, but the past 5 years. Here's East Coast price data from the Energy Information Administration. The price now around $3 a gallon. And you'll be able to hear more from my interview with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent this Sunday on NBC 10 at Issue.